Greetings. I'm the artist, Enrique Blanc, and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to remove the swooshes from a pair of Air Force Ones and prepare the leather for painting your very own pair of custom kicks. Let's get started. Now, before you begin prepping your shoes, you do want to have an idea of what you're going to put on them. That way you're not prepping areas that do not need to be prepped. But regardless of what you put on the shoes, we are going to need to take the laces out. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, now that we have our laces out of our shoes, what we're gonna do next is actually stuff them to give them a little bit more stability. Now these are brand new, so I have the original tissue that they came with. If you don't have that, then feel free to stuff them with whatever you can find around the house, like old socks, old t-shirts. I've used plastic bags, newspaper, whatever you can find, really, okay? And now we're ready for our next step. Right then. All right, now that our shoes have been delaced and stuffed for stability, our next step is to actually remove the swooshes here. So what you're gonna need for this step is an Exacto knife or a very sharp precision knife, some tweezers, good pair of tweezers, as well as I like to have needle nose pliers on hand because some of the strings left behind after you remove the swoosh can be a bit tough to pull out of the shoe. All right. When you're just starting to remove the swoosh, I find it easiest to cut the strings on top of the leather versus trying to get in between the swoosh and the shoe because it's a lot easier to damage it that way. And make sure you point your knife out and away from you and the shoe so as not to damage yourself or the shoe. When I get to the back of the swoosh, what I like to do is take my knife and kind of slant it up under the back patch and just slice the rest of the swoosh right off. It may take a few times to get it off, but if you slant it, then there shouldn't be any visible marks left on the shoe. And now all I have left to do is to remove the remaining strings with my tweezers and my pliers. All right, now we've got our swooshes. Now we've got our swooshes removed and we are ready to deglaze them. All right, what you're gonna need for this step is acetone or leather preparer and deglazer, a paper towel or a cotton pad. I like a paper towel because I find it gives me more control over which areas I am deglazing, as well as latex gloves. I'm only using one glove because I'm only going to be handling acetone with one hand. All right, so what you're gonna do is you're just going to, put the acetone on your paper towel or cotton pad and then apply to the areas that you only want painted. You don't have to use this on the entire shoe, and it's gonna save you some time as well. So only apply to the areas that you wanna paint. Okie dokie. Now that our shoe is nice and deglazed, our next step is going to be to sand the same areas that we just deglazed. All right, and this step just ensures that the paint, it further ensures that the paint won't chip or peel off. It just gives you a much nicer, it allows the leather to grip that paint a lot easier, okay? So I have here just a small piece of 220 sandpaper. And sometimes if you're sanding for a while, what I like to do is just get a little small piece of cloth or paper towel and just roll it up in there. And it kind of creates like a nice finger pad for you to work with. And just go to town. Fantastic. Now that we have our shoe deglazed and sanded, we're ready for our next step, which is we're gonna cover these tiny little holes that we revealed when we removed our swooshes. But before we do that, we're actually going to wipe the area clean one more time with our acetone or leather deglazer. Now you want to make sure when you start applying your repair filler or your paint that you're doing it in thin coats and that the coats are completely dry before you apply the next so that it doesn't clump when you begin to sand. Alrighty then. Now that we have our holes filled, our filler is completely dry, we are ready to sand. For this step, I'm going to be using the same sandpaper as before. It's 220 grit, so not too rough. I don't think it's too fine either. The more you use whatever filler you decide to use, the more you'll figure out how it works, and then you can judge for yourself what kind of sandpapers you'd like to use. But for this, I'm using 220, and it seems to work just fine for me. Once you've sanded your shoes again where the the filler was, and you've got it nice and flush, you'll be able to touch it with your finger and see if you need to add another coat or continue sanding. And don't worry if you can still see, you know, some of the holes. You're going to be able to see them faintly, but it's going to be a lot less visible than it was before we added the filler and we sanded. Okay, so all we have left to do now is add a thin layer of white leather paint to make it blend with the rest of the shoe, and then we'll be ready to put whatever design you please on here, okay? All right, our white paint is dry. We now have a prepped and ready shoe, sneaker, with our swooshes removed, holes covered up, and ready to be painted with whatever you desire. All right, thank you guys so much for tuning in and following along. I hope that you continue to do so. Please hit that subscribe button for more videos, art tips and tricks on how to customize shoes and more. Thank you so much. I'm Enrique Blon, signing out. Greetings, I'm the artist Enrique Blon. This is uncomfortable for painting. Greetings. Hey, man. Let's go. Hi, Portia. Where's we boy?